feel like at this point, Nebraska is a cursed program, as they can just never get over the hump and always seem to have constant unfortunate things happen to them. It has been the same story in 2025, as after having a good start, they ended up getting ranked and absolutely blew it to Minnesota, and then this past weekend, with a chance to knock off a ranked opponent in USC, they not only lost, but they lost their starting quarterback for the remainder of the season. It was announced that Dylan Raiola ended up suffering a broken fibula, and he will miss the rest of the year. This is honestly worst case scenario for Nebraska fans, as there's not a whole lot of experience behind Raiola on the roster. Daniel Kalen transferred to Virginia this past offseason, and while they did bring in former blue chip Marcos Davila from Purdue, they have decided to turn to a true freshman by the name of TJ Lateef. In today's video, we're going to talk about Nebraska's current quarterback situation, what is going on with Dylan Raiola, and I'm also going to introduce you to who TJ Latif is. Does Nebraska have any chance the rest of the season? Well, I'll hopefully be able to explain that and you'll find out. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about Nebraska's current quarterback situation. Ever since Matt Rule took over at Nebraska, things have been slowly turning in a positive direction for the Cornhuskers program, and it started at the quarterback spot when they got Dylan Raiola. Obviously, he was a 5-star recruit who had flipped between a couple of high schools and college programs, including Georgia and Ohio State, but he ended up at Nebraska, and this was going to be the most hyped up player there in quite some time. Raiola honestly was really solid as a freshman, as last year he ended up passing for 2,819 yards with 13 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. He also completed 67% of his passes, and for a true freshman, that was really good. He also helped Nebraska get to a bowl game for the first time in seemingly forever, so going into 2025, he was expected to take another jump and become an even better player. A lot of people were starting to hate on Dylan because he tried to model himself after Patrick Mahomes, but he did in fact get much better this year before he went down with an injury. Through the first 2/3 of the season, Dylan had passed for 2,000 yards with 18 touchdowns and 6 picks, and had completed 72% of his passes. His completion percentage was up, he was on pace to have more yards, and he had already thrown more touchdowns while having less turnovers. Nebraska was also winning more football games, as before last night, Nebraska only had 2 losses to Minnesota and Michigan, and the Michigan game they could have honestly won. While Dylan's performances were getting worse as the season went on, he was still having a good year, and they still had a chance at maybe winning 9 or 10 games if things went their way. But they didn't. Last night against USC, Dylan had gone 10 of 15 for 91 yards and a touchdown before he would eventually get hurt. He would get sacked by a USC defender, and he broke his fibula, and now he is done for the season. What's crazy is he was actually tough enough to try to come back into the game, but that is a brutal injury. Nebraska not only lost, but they're now 0-30 in their last 30 games against ranked opponents. They haven't beat a ranked team since 2016, and that's honestly absurd. To fill in for Dylan, we had to see true freshman TJ Lateef come in, and he would go 5 of 7 for 7 yards. Obviously that was not a great stat line, but Nebraska wasn't passing the ball a ton before he came in anyways. Ultimately, they would lose 21-17 to the Trojans, and now they will have to turn the team over to TJ. But who exactly is he? Okay, so for some backstory on who TJ is, I did a video on him when he committed to Nebraska, so I'm now going to share my segment from that video, and it's honestly crazy how much has changed since then. So who exactly is he? Well, he's currently a junior at Orange Lutheran High School, which is located in the city of Orange, California. He's a part of the class of 2025, and pretty much consensusly, he is a 4-star recruit. 24/7 lists him as the number 17 quarterback, and the composite has him at number 18. He's considered a top 20 quarterback in the class of 2025, and many scouts are super excited to see what he can do on campus. Based on his offer sheet according to 24/7 Sports, he has offers from schools such as Colorado, Michigan State, Miami, Ole Miss, Penn State, Texas A&M, and Indiana. Add in the fact that he also has schools like Georgia and Florida State giving him an offer, and Latif is truly a national prospect who schools from all over the country want to get their hands on. A couple of weeks ago, he announced his commitment to the Huskers, and this is a huge get for head coach Matt Rule. So far, he's landed 3 4-star recruits in Daniel Kalen, Latif, and Dylan Raiola, and this is exactly what the Huskers need. They also needed to develop him. Latif said he committed to Nebraska for a couple of reasons, and the main one being their co-offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield. He pushed really hard to get him on campus, and this apparently paid off. Orange Lutheran head coach said, quote, "One of Latif's best qualities is his leadership because he cares about his teammates. He makes the people around him better, and I'm not sure there's anything better I can say about TJ than that." So yeah, Nebraska's hitting a guy with a great attitude, and the whole Midwestern Nebraska vibe I'm sure really sat well for him. California has been a QB factory over the last few years, as off the top of my head, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, but it seems like getting a California quarterback is as good as getting a Texas quarterback now. Over the last 2 years, Latif has thrown for 3,400 yards with 31 touchdowns, and that obviously picked him up those big-time offers. Obviously, he's a huge deal, and while some of those schools already have their guy, why would he go to Nebraska when Raiola's already there? Well, they actually asked him about it. At the spring game, he said, quote, "I'm not scared to compete against any quarterback. I know they have Dylan Raiola, but that doesn't shy me away." Latif visited Lincoln the weekend of the April 27th for the red and white game, and in that red and white game, Raiola threw for 238 yards to headline the event. In terms of how this looks in the future, he's most certainly the only quarterback Nebraska will take in 2025 if he stays committed, and honestly, this is just such a big deal. Last year, they obviously signed 2 Elite 11 finalists in Raiola and Kalen, and it does seem like Nebraska is getting a lot more talent on the roster, at least star-wise. Right now, Latif is projected a prototypical quarterback. He's currently 6'2" and 188 pounds, and he'll definitely need to spend some time in the weight room before he sees the field at a college level. What do the scouts think? One said, quote, "Latif has capable arm strength attacking all 3 levels of the field, throws with impressive placement and touch, and he's especially consistent throwing to the back shoulder, throwing short and intermediate, and primarily attacks from the pocket, but can roll out and extend plays under pressure. He's quick with good acceleration, and his throwing motion is quick enough, but his mechanics could use some work." So right now it seems like TJ is a work in progress, but the reaction has been strong. One Redditor said, quote, "It's a great get for Nebraska, but honestly a bit of a head scratcher from the kid's perspective. Why go there to sit 2 or 3 years in this era? And is there any scenario, barring an injury to Raiola, where he doesn't transfer out before he ever sees the field? Honestly, I don't know. Raiola either gets hurt or he's absolutely awful, and if not, he probably doesn't see the field, and he has to battle it out with Kalen." Not only did Dylan Raiola end up getting hurt, but Daniel Kalen transferred away from the program after just 1 year. He is currently the backup to Chandler Morris at Virginia, and as of now, Sunday, November 2nd, Dylan Raiola is now out for the season for Nebraska, so all of a sudden, TJ not only has to play, but he has to lead Nebraska the rest of the season. So far this year, TJ has appeared in 3 total games, as he first played in their matchup against Akron, and in that game, he goes 6 of 7 for 128 yards, and he also had his first career touchdown, which would come by way of a rushing score. The following weekend against Houston Christian, he would go 5 of 5 for 126 yards and a touchdown, and he also ran for 1. This honestly reminds me a lot of Lenoris Sellers, as when he was a backup his freshman year, he always seemed to make big plays and scored a lot of touchdowns for not having a ton of reps. Maybe that's a bit far-fetched to say, but TJ looked good in the few opportunities he had early in the season. But against USC, he was definitely humbled, as that was much better competition than Akron or Houston Christian, and he went 5 of 7 for 7 yards. I did mention earlier that they were running the ball a lot that game, and Latif was definitely not prepared for that, so you have to give him some slack. But now, as we turn towards the rest of the season, he's going to have to step up his game immediately if Nebraska wants to finish the season strong. While they have already clinched a bowl game and are currently sitting at 6-3, Nebraska fans want more than just 6 wins. For the remainder of the season, they'll have road trips against both UCLA and Penn State, and then they'll come home and play Iowa. I have to be honest, I don't know if I'm picking Nebraska to win any of those games. I know you might think I'm a hater for saying that, but UCLA has looked better in recent weeks, and it's still hard to win at Penn State no matter what. Iowa also seems to have their number, as they always win by way of a game-winning field goal, and at this point, it is the Wild West for Nebraska. TJ could come in and be really good and lead the offense and help them win a couple of games, or he could be absolutely horrible and struggle with a ton of growing pains. Honestly, I have no clue what is going to happen, but either way, I think Nebraska fans are in for an interesting last 3 games. It could go a number of ways, but how do you think it'll go? If you're a Nebraska fan, what do you think of TJ Lateef? What do you think is going to happen with Dylan Raiola? And what other topics should I cover next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.